Praise be to God, there is no other God except God. A lot of times people wonder why accidents happen and how could they avoid such an accident. And they reach useless conclusions about specific accidents. For example, if only I had turned the wheel earlier, or if only I had not taken that step, or if only I double checked. And depending on the accident, they will reach a certain conclusion. So they might decide that from then on, they will always double check a certain thing. However, this is a very superficial way of avoiding accidents. That's how babies learn when they don't want to fall down again. That only teaches you how to prevent that type of accident. So basically, with that method of thinking, you can only avoid accidents which happened to you once before. But the majority of accidents which happen to people are accidents which did not happen to them before. There is another way to avoid accidents. If we understand at a deeper level in which circumstances all kinds of accidents happen, and not just why a certain accident happened. And when we think about it carefully, we will realize that God allows accidents in circumstances where people with very different hearts stay together. Basically, people who are behaving similarly on the outside, but on the inside, their level of belief or disbelief is very different. Basically, God allows accidents to split up the people with a good heart from the people with a bad heart, when they themselves don't know that one of them has a good heart and the other has a bad heart. And the difference between the hearts has to be extreme for the accidents to be serious. For example, Moses and Pharaoh grew up together. God knew that Moses had an extremely good heart and Pharaoh had an extremely bad heart. However, had we been there when they were growing up, we would not notice the difference. They probably hunted together, laughed together, ate together, and they did not get a chance to express from inside their heart how different they were. They were forced by the rules there to behave in the same way in similar circumstances. So that circumstance was an accident waiting to happen. So as Moses casually was walking one day and saw one man beating another man, and then Moses hit him, and he died accidentally, that did not just happen. It was waiting to happen. If it did not happen there, it would happen somewhere else in some different form. But it was waiting to happen. Another example, which is mentioned in Surah 18, is when Moses and that angel appearing in human form traveled together. Because Moses wants to learn some things from him. Yes, he was an angel, but that's for another time to explain. So Moses and him traveled together, and the angel kills a boy. And Moses says, "Why did you kill such an innocent person who did not kill any other person?" And later the response is, his parents were good believers, and we saw that he was going to burden them with his transgression and disbelief. And this happened to a boy who had not gotten a chance to be bad yet. So basically here we have a family where two members have a very good heart and the child has a very bad heart, and an accident happened. The angel killed him, but to their parents it would look like an accident. God knows how they found him dead. A tree had fallen on him, or he had drowned while swimming, or whatever. That is not important. The important part is that extreme believers and extreme disbelievers spending a lot of time together are an accident waiting to happen. By the way, it can also happen the other way around. The parents could be extreme disbelievers and the boy could be an extreme believer, and that would again result in an accident where the boy would die or the parents would die. So you cannot conclude anything about anyone's belief based on accidents. This logic works only one way. It does not work backwards. Someone might wonder, then is it possible to avoid all accidents if we separate all the believers from disbelievers? Let's say we take all believers of the world and send them to Australia. That would be enough land, and leave the disbelievers in the other continents. What would happen? Actually, yes, accidents would stop, but only because worse would happen before the accidents. So basically, we would only turn the unintended suffering into intended suffering. The disbelievers would declare war on us, that's a guarantee. So the difference between wars and accidents is that one of them is intended suffering, while the other is unintended suffering. So if we have a good heart, because most of the world does not, we have put ourselves in a situation where an accident is about to happen. Like in the case of Jesus, for example. His level of belief and the levels of belief of the Jews did not match. And we know what happened. Basically, if you are willing to be 100% believer, you will not be able to survive in this world. Unless You surround yourself with people who are at similar levels of belief as yours. Let's say people who want to be 99% good. And then they surround themselves with people whose hearts are 98% good. And they surround themselves with people whose hearts are 97% good, and so on. Actually, this implies a society where the best people are at the center, and then the belief fades gradually on the edges. And those people on the edges meet with the disbelievers on the edges, which is where the conversions take place. People moving from one group to another. And in the next world, there will be no accidents, because the believers will be in one group, and the disbelievers will be in another group. There will still be suffering among the disbelievers, but that will be intended suffering. Intended events are not accidents. By the way, to God, nothing is an accident. He controls everything. I was only talking about accidents as bad events which people did not intend, not events which God did not intend. God is in control of everything, and He will allow what seems to us like accidents to separate very different hearts and to bring together similar hearts. This is why accidents happen more often if you put a bunch of men together rather than a bunch of women together. Although on average men and women are the same in belief, there is slightly more variation among men than women. So basically it is slightly more likely to find extreme cases of belief or disbelief among men. And if you put them together in dangerous sports, for example, or in gatherings, or maybe they might be forced to stay together because of poverty, then accidents happen. This explains all that gun violence in poor communities where men of different hearts are forced to stay together, or car accidents or accidents in sports. By the way, I am not proposing any solution to this. With human proposals, we can only turn one problem into another. We can turn large accidents into many small accidents, for example, but not eliminate them. Or we can turn accidents into wars, or we can turn wars into accidents, but not eliminate them. It is the same devil today as centuries ago. The level of suffering in this world has not changed. Democracies, states have managed to simply shift it from where it is measurable to places where it is not measurable. For example, they might help avoid car accidents with traffic lights, but that comes at an expense. We have to educate people who would know how to build traffic lights, and that education only can come at an expense. We have to separate parents from their children for about 8 hours every day. So basically, if we don't want a person to lose his child, we can avoid that if we force 100 other parents to miss their child for 8 hours every day. So basically, we are simply shifting the suffering from one large noticeable case into many smaller, daily, not so noticeable cases. This is not a solution. By doing this, we are simply distributing the suffering among everyone a little bit. And the world is heading that way. And once all the believers have been mixed with all the disbelievers, a very large accident is waiting to happen. The end of the world. So basically, the end of the world will come when all believers and all disbelievers will be equal in behavior, and they will do things together. Their only difference will be what is in their heart. Everything else will be the same.